Hi, I'm Melinda Van Fleet, and welcome to the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. I'm an author, speaker, and success coach who helps women believe in themselves, build confidence, and take action. In 2009, my husband Ryan and I were laid off at the same time, and we moved to the Florida Keys without jobs, not knowing anyone, hardly any money, and we never even been here. But we made it. And now, not every day is sunshine and rainbows, but we're living our best lives. All along in our journey, I've always said that someday when we get our shit together, we will help others. So each week, my intent is to be relatable and bring you tactical tips, tools, share my learnings and stories that can help inspire or transform you wherever you are in your career or general life and make an impact. I strongly believe that if I can do it, you can do it too. So what's stopping you? Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. I am so excited that you have decided to join us today because, yay, I have returning guest, Ann Smyth. And if you listened to podcast episode 130, you will have heard our amazing discussion on human design. Ann Smyth is a certified life design coach and human design advisor. And she just blows my mind every time we talk. And also to recap, I initially talked about human design in episode 122 from a very top side, a little bit of history about human design and a little bit about the knowledge I had picked up on initially and how I applied it right away. So if you need to catch up, please catch up and listen to 122 if you don't know what human design is and want to hear that. And then episode 130. And then please pull your chart and use humandesignamerica.com. That's one that I have found that I really like. And there's other ones out there as well. But please pull your chart so you can start to learn about this amazing spiritual I call it a spiritual tool, and can probably correct me on that if that's not the right thing to say. And then also pull a loved one, because in this episode, what we're going to be doing is chatting about how to compare. Because the thing about using a tool like this is, really using it for yourself, and then using it how you can work on your relationships or understand relationships or build relationships. And so when you can pull a loved one and follow along as well, so you can start to learn between, what your chart is reading and the other person's chart is reading, oh my gosh, the skies just keep opening and opening and opening. So I had, of course, pulled my husband Ryan's, and I've also pulled my sister Deborah's and my two nieces, Sienna and Sydney's. So Ann and I have kind of been downloading a little bit about all these charts, and now it was time to start the podcast. So without any further ado, I know that was a long intro. Welcome, Ann. Thank you so much for coming back on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Melinda. It's my pleasure to be here again. And I know we were joking just before, do we have anything left to speak about with this? Because we've been talking about it for quite a while. But look, thanks for the great introduction. And you talked about it as a spiritual tool. It's kind of more, I suppose, I would call it a modality. Like it's something for us to use to understand ourselves better. And hopefully what we're kind of going to impress today is, regardless of the type, regardless of the names that are on it, you are more than a name, than a type, than, I suppose what the chart says you are. Like you know yourself best. Why it's a modality is and how it helps my clients a lot is they really start to own who they are and their own little nuances, and really live authentically through those things so that they can fully express themselves in the most magnetic way through their aura and just start really, really attracting everything to them. So it's not definitive in any way. It is a modality. Take what resonates and, leave what doesn't sit with you quite right yet at the moment, I've said it to you before, my favorite quote is, when the student is ready, the teacher will show. She'll just take the information that sits with you right. And then in the future, another piece of the puzzle or the other shoe might drop for you on something else that's in there.
Yeah. Oh no, that's amazing. Thank you. And thank you for clearing it up. That's why I was like saying it. I'm like, I might be saying this not in the best way. So I always appreciate when someone guides me, and you are the perfect guide for this whole
Thank you.
process. And you know, and I just have to say to everyone out there too, I know Anne just said, you know, take what resonates with you. She has not said one thing about my chart or any of the people I just mentioned's chart that hasn't resonated. So that's too why I think this whole process and speaking with you is so amazing. So it's really, really cool because there is so many layers and levels and things to learn about human design and talk about human design. I know we decided to at least kick off and kind of see where it goes from there to talk about, if you pull your chart and you use the chart that I mentioned, what are maybe two things that you would say, two pieces of it for people to start to get to know and learn about? We can dive into it.
Yeah. The two most important things for anybody, regardless of their type, to take notice of is what their strategy is and what their authority is. Regardless of what other information you hear about human design, that information can sometimes take you off track. Just by virtue of the situation that you're in at the time. But if you always bring it back to the strategy and the authority, you will not see yourself wrong in anything that you're doing in your life. So the strategy is how you communicate with the universe, how you communicate with those around you, in terms of manifestation and creation and the world that you live in. And then the authority is how you make decisions. So they work really well hand in hand, because you communicate with the universe about the things you want. The universe brings you situations depending on how well you communicate it, and then you respond to those things then you make decisions using your authority on those things. So you can say, no, universe, that wasn't good enough, I deserve better than that. Or you can say, through great excitement and happiness about something as your decision making, and say, wow, universe, this is amazing. It's kind of how you know, how do I know whether the next step is the right thing for me? You kind of really bed down in that authority and exercise it at all times. So us, for example, we have two different authorities. You have a sacral authority. So that means with using your sacral center, your tummy, that kind of gut. It's a very binary area. It really only likes yes or no questions, or would you like this or would you like that? So in any situation, any experience that the universe brings to you, you would implement your strategy to respond. You would look at the situation and then you'd say, do I like this? Yes or no? And you wait for what the decision is. And you will hear that voice inside of you saying yes or no, or choose this, choose that. And you go with that decision. Okay. Whereas myself and Ryan, your husband, actually we're both emotional authorities. So we would again respond. The situation comes to us, and we will have an emotional reaction to it. Our emotional wave will start to kick off. And it can be that we get super excited about something or super upset about something. And what we have to do is kind of wait for that energy to flow through us before we make that decision, because that energy wave that's moving through us can give us a false sense of security that, oh, I really, really like this. Because we're both manifesting generators as well, Ryan and I. So we think we really have shiny object syndrome. Everything we see, we're like, amazing, I can do that. But actually the next day then we might, when the energy wave has subsided, we might say, why did I commit to that? I have no interest in it. So we have to wait a little bit longer than you. Whereas you can almost tell kind of in the moment, yes or no, this is right for me. It's wiser for us to wait a little time to really decide what is the energy telling us. Okay.
Mm. And what, sorry, did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
No, I was just looking at, I have your nieces and your sister up in front of me here, and yourself. So I was just checking what they were as well, but I covered both of those with both of your nieces as well. So one has a sacral authority like you, and the other niece has emotional authority like myself and Ryan. So we both make decisions very differently, and it's kind of how we keep ourselves safe. It's how we keep moving forward with our lives through things.
So what would be the difference between to respond and wait for the invitation? Because it seems similar, but maybe I'm wrong.
So the strategy to respond is for generators and manifesting generators like me. Okay, and like Ryan. So we have the same one. So when it comes to responding, it's like the universe is always bringing things to you and you respond to the situations, and it's totally okay to say to the universe, I don't like this. This is not how I thought the manifestation would be. Next time I would like, I don't know, him taller, him more polite or whatever, if it's, say, it was something romantic that you're manifesting. Whereas with projectors, they have to wait for the invitation and recognition. It is because projectors have a really unique way of penetrating people's energies, and they really go to the core of things. And not everybody is ready for how deep they can go on things. So there has to be recognition for their uniqueness and their ability to go deep, and they have to be invited to go deep with that person. So, okay. Yeah. So that's why theirs is just, their strategy is just different. They just wait for the invitation, wait to be recognized and things like that. So they would maybe go into a social situation and there might be discussion about art or something like that. And they may offer something on the classics and offer an opinion on the classics. They may then get someone there who is able to, who kind of recognizes that uniqueness in them, may say that's really unique. Like, I never thought of it that way. Can you share that with me? That's where a projector then starts to communicate and starts to share. And they're kind of really telling the universe then at that stage, I really love this. I really love being seen as the, not the expert, but kind of being seen as the authority in this. And that's what makes them super magnetic. Whereas you and I might walk into the room where there's an art discussion and we might say, I have no interest in this at all. And that's us responding. That's just us doing our strategy. But we don't need anybody else kind of to implement our strategy. Whereas with projectors, they have to be recognized by the other person as that expert and to be invited to share their really unique opinion and view on the world.
So are there certain strategies for each of the different human design types? So for example, like, would you see wait for the invitation in the generator or manifesting generator, or that's more specific to the projector? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's specific to the projector. So their strategy is to wait for the invitation and recognition. A manifestor's strategy is to inform. Okay. And a reflector's is to wait for a lunar cycle. With the manifestor to inform, it's because they're like the big idea generator. They're like this big energy that kind of starts something. They start movements, they start companies, they really start ideas. And people have to be ready for those big things as well. But they kind of suffer no fools when they have that big idea and they're going full steam ahead for it. Whether you're on board with them or not, they don't care. All they have to do is tell you, this is what I'm doing, and your opinion on it doesn't matter. You either get on the train or you don't. They just move forward. Whereas, say, a manifesting generator or a generator, we might start doing work and then we tweak along the way because we respond to the situation as it unfolds. Why are you laughing?
I talk about tweaking all the time. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, look, you and I are, I suppose, I'm more manifestor than generator, but we would tweak along the way. Whereas what a projector would do, they would say, okay, that's your great idea, but I see how you can achieve it in less time with less resources and in the best way possible. So they don't even have to do the tweaking. Like, they don't have to trial by error. They can see how to make it super efficient without actually doing anything. That's what makes a projector super amazing, because a projector, does not generate its own energy like you or I. A generator, a manifesting generator, a manifester, we're all energy beings. We create energy by doing things that light us up and that we love. A projector penetrates energy. So it's projectors are naturally gifted then at preserving their energy, because they know when that tank's empty, there's nowhere else in my system creating energy to fill it back up. So they're really, really good at making things super efficient, and they make amazing leaders.
So a reflector is also like a projector, correct? That they don't generate their own energy? Am I correct?
Yes, excuse me, sorry, yeah. They are like them insofar as they are not energy generating beings, but reflectors are really the unicorns of the world. Reflectors are really, really, really rare. And it's really interesting, like I do this for teens or for families or for couples, and kind of when you understand how the other person lets energy flow through them, how they generate energy, or how they penetrate energy, or what their purpose is, then you start to actually use them to their best advantages, and you really start to kind of see inside of them the best of them. And from a relationship perspective, a family's perspective, everybody blooms when you start to see that in them. So a reflector on a team is there to, the clue is in the name, they kind of reflect what the general feeling in the group is. So reflectors can be in a group, and if there's like just awful energy, horrible place, everything like that, reflectors feel like that. They're like a chameleon, and they don't understand why. They can't actually separate themselves from the situation and say, I feel bad because of these people I'm around. They just think there's something wrong with them, that it's them that feels bad. And then you can take them out of that situation and put them into a group of people where everybody is just amazing energy, supporting each other, moving the team forward, and a reflector can just feel amazing. But it's not necessarily their own energy. They are just reflecting kind of the consciousness of the group. That's what a reflector is there to do. So reflectors, really unusual, really rare to kind of come up against them, and they kind of don't know their own energy either, because they cannot separate the situation that they're in and themselves in any moment. They literally are like a mirror reflecting everything around them. So they can have a lot of trouble with that, because they think that they really personalize it, that it's something wrong with them. They can't see that they are reflecting actually the consciousness, as opposed to it being about themselves.
I have a random thought question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any, this may be totally ad hoc, and if you don't know this, don't feel bad. Is there any, it's totally random. Is there any correlation between projectors and migraines? Do you know?
I don't know that, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'm curious, are you asking that because of your sister, Diane?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Because if you think about it from like an energy standpoint, it would make sense. So, yeah, just curious. Yeah, I just wondered.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any correlation between the two, but what your sister has different to. Well, I just checked your chart. You have it too, though. So your sister, you see, she's only defined in her head, her ajna, and her throat. So, and the head center, just like the root center, is a pressure center. So with that only defined, she would feel a lot of pressure in terms of forming ideas, opinions. Like she would feel a lot of pressure in her head. That may manifest itself as a migraine for her. And I suppose I only picked her out because, you're defined in the same areas, but you have, I suppose, more circuitry defined inside of your chart compared to your sister. It is all very much in that kind of throat up area. So I can kind of see why perhaps that might manifest a lot of something.
Yeah.
Another, where this can kind of sometimes manifest with clients as well, not migraines, but that pressure center, the root center, which is really like your sexual organs and that area. And if it's undefined, you're letting a lot of pressure in from people. I should be working, I should be doing this. It's really a lot of should. So a lot of guilt can sit in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, you get clients maybe who have issues in the reproductive area or probably irregular periods, etc. And when they start to harness this and understanding that actually those shoulds, that guilt, that's just energy that they're letting in from other people, and they can start to separate it. And some clients have experienced kind of more flow in that area, because they start to understand that this is just someone else's energy that I have let into my system, and I don't have to let it bog me down.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's really interesting. Yeah. It just provides so much clarity and like aha moments. So just to circle back on the strategies and the types, basically the strategy is a way of understanding your type a little bit. Would you say that's just kind of the correlation in terms of the aspect?
The strategy is kind of how you manifest and how you communicate with the world. So it is, let's see, you and I have respond, okay, and so would Ryan, because he's a manifesting generator as well. So if you don't implement the strategy of respond, you kind of are more reactive to life. You get the email from your boss and you say, I'm going to reply now, and you like jump to it. Responding is more sitting back and saying, you know what, I know this is going to figure itself out in time, because you have decided with the universe, I manifest and I create my life in a very easy, flowy way. Jumping to that reactive is completely going against your strategy of responding, which is I respond to the things around me by saying whether I like them or I don't, and being reactive with my boss, trying to manufacture the situation, trying to change the outcome of something. That is not responding. That is very much ego driven and trying to force an outcome. Whereas if your boss emails you something and there's lots of people copied in on it, you want to implement a strategy of responding, you say, I'm not going to react to that. I'm going to trust that the right thing will happen in the most flowy and easy way possible. And with clients, when they start to do this first, they say they kind of notice straight away, actually, life gets much easier when you start to live your life this way. Yeah.
It's so true. I've noticed when I was starting to shift in this direction, and then I got, it's so many signals coming together, right? Human design's an aspect. Then I read a couple books that are, not about human design, but just different elements. And you end up going, okay, this is the message, Melinda. Like, you need to stop. Right? So I have really, really, really made a very conscious effort to change this behavior and to wait to respond. I really have in the past 6 months, I'd say. And I have noticed a difference. I really have. It's pretty amazing. So I definitely would suggest that to anyone out there. If you're pulling your chart and you see your strategy is to respond, to start to do the work, because it is work. You have to stop yourself. I mean, I am from corporate America. Like, we're supposed to get back to everybody right away, get back to every email, get back to your boss, get back to this. And honestly, like, you end up making mistakes or saying things you shouldn't have said, or responded in a way you shouldn't have said, or wasn't even the right way in regards to probably how the universe would have you do it. So, if I could go back in time, I'd probably save a lot of drama in my life if I would have known this when I was 25 versus learning this when I was, 49. Now I'm 50. So that's pretty amazing.
It is. And the thing, sorry, Melinda.
No, go ahead.
the thing about responding as well, where it made a big difference through me, is, situations where you're sharing a story with someone and they say, you should call them now, or you should email them now, or you should text them now. Okay. And you act on that but you may have, maybe like me, where I have an undefined ajna and head. So I let other people's thoughts, beliefs, opinions kind of come in, and I'm acting on that in that moment without implementing my strategy. And my strategy is, okay, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to run it through my authority, which is my emotional authority. I might be feeling like I agree with you now, but I'm going to see how I feel about it tomorrow, and then I'll take action. Rather than then I am really kind of making sure that the result ends up exactly the way I want, because I'm responding to the information that's being given to me. And then I'm also double bracing it by making sure I'm making the decision to act properly by waiting till tomorrow to make the decision. And that's because I have an emotional authority. Rather than picking up the phone and saying, you're right, I'm going to text them now. And then I'm just, I'm acting completely on beliefs, thoughts, opinions that I may have let into my head, but are not my truth, because I haven't kind of run them through the whole engine to say, yes, I agree with this or I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's everything you said is so spot on. And I've even been spending more time with my husband, Ryan. He'll get something like a DM from a client or an email. And I'm like, wait to respond.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying to steer that ship a little bit that way too, because he's the same. It's strategy is to respond. And so just chill out for a second. Like, the world's not going to end if you don't get back to that person like right now. It's going to be okay. So,
Jody, imagine how much heart
it too.
Yeah, and imagine how much heartache we would all save if we started like actually being in this. It is very much in a state of allowing and understanding and being in an energy of flow, and the right things happen. And look, I completely get where Ryan is coming from. I have the same type of emotional wave as him, and sometimes that wave is so strong you cannot see the wood for the trees, that I need to wait, and you're feeling really passionate about something and you want to make something happen. There's so much power in the slowing down part. Whereas while you have the same strategy to respond, your authority is your sacral. So someone will say to you, text them now, or write that email now to that person. You can very quickly ask yourself, do I agree with that action? Yes or no? And then you can safely do whatever the answer is. So if the answer is, no, I don't agree with that, then you can make that decision in that moment. Whereas Ryan and I have to allow a little bit of time for the emotional wave to go, and I suppose for it to find its water table, for want of a better description for it. So we have to let it find its level. But you're a little bit more clear cut, yes or no.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. I wrote about a whole scenario in my upcoming book, Life and Love Lessons, about really waiting. And when you said, I'll use your words, there's so much power in that. It's true. Like, you just felt so much more clear, and with the clarity comes the power of like, okay, no, I can make this decision now because I've waited, and that my intuition's super strong. So my intuition like hit me. I decided to wait, and then my intuition hit me when it was the time to make the decision, and then also gave me the answer of how to handle it. So a lot came from that process of waiting to respond, which was, part of the learning of human design. So it's very fascinating. So let's switch to the second one that you said is super important when you look at your chart, the inner authority.
Yeah, the inner authority. So the decision making. So how you make decisions. So with us, that emotional thing, and just like you said, it really goes back to kind of with Ryan and I. We'll get that emotional charge. We will think that something is the right thing for us, and we might commit to it. And then a few days later say, why did I do that? I have no interest in actually following through on the thing we've committed to. So our emotions really are the litmus test for us on whether we really truly like something. So in kind of as part of the waiting for us before we respond, before we implement that strategy of responding, the more we allow time between the event and making the decision, the more we save ourselves emotionally, financially, spiritually, physically, in terms of resources. And we stop wasting energy, and we make ourselves available only for things that light us up. So really important to honor the emotional wave, let it go through you, and then afterwards, kind of when you're cool, calm and collected, say, okay, now how do I feel about committing to that event? How do I feel about this thing I'm about to buy? So like I saved quite a lot of money by just putting all the things in the basket and then waiting the next day before I hit purchase, because when I go back the next day,
you know that companies like hate those basket people.
But you see, I implement my authority on the basket. I buy, I get super excited about it. I put it all in the basket, and then, but before I knew this, I would have just reacted, bought everything, and then it comes, and maybe I don't wear it for a month, and then I can't return it, and then I'm annoyed at myself, and then I'm wasting energy or leaking energy, and then I'm making my aura smaller. So wait 24 hours, and then I can chuck the things out that are no longer lighting me up, and then I only spend my resources, like emotionally and financially, on things that I'm really, really lit up about.
That's a great tip too. That's just a really great tip for people to wait. So that's really funny. Yeah, no, I'm a retailer at heart. That's my background before going into this space. So yeah, I definitely know that online companies aren't fans of all those people that have abandoned carts. So
do you know how many emails I get with, do you want to pick up where you left off? And it's like, no.
Oh my God, that's so funny, because I was just telling my husband last night, I was looking at a dress that appeared like somehow on my Amazon, and I was like, oh, that's a cute dress. And I didn't really want it. I was more fascinated about the dynamics of the dress, being a former buyer. So all the color options they offer, blah, 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 the silhouette, the price. Anyhow, so Amazon picked up on the fact that I was looking at it and emailed me last night to remind me that I was looking at it. And because I'm not a cart abandoned person, I guess I never get those emails. My mistake roll. I know.
Exactly. You say, do I want it? Yes or no? And you can make that decision in that moment. Yeah.
That is so funny. I love it. What a great relatable example. Oh my gosh. Now my sister, she has no authority. What's going on with her?
Yeah, based on the chart that you sent over, it shows that she has no authority. So with those people, they have to wait what's called like a linear, wait kind of for the next linear change between linear changes. Now, it doesn't mean, which is about 28 days, okay, by the time the moon goes through its cycle. But it doesn't mean that it's 28 days from when you have to make a decision. So if I think there was a new moon, about 6-7 days ago. So for her, the next best time to make a decision, this relates to kind of big things, would be to kind of wait 20 days. So if you are halfway through the moon cycle, you only have to wait kind of the remainder of the time on the current moon cycle to make that decision. It's not always 28 days, but the general is 28 days for those people to make a decision. And it's, I suppose, people with no inner authority, it is you, I, Ryan, we're very affected kind of by the sun energy, whereas people with no inner authority, they are affected by the moon energy more. So that's just how it's different. Yeah, that's just all it is. So just wait a little bit of time to make decisions, and that should see her right. But in terms of your nieces, we've got one sacral and one emotional. So very similar to you and Ryan in that respect, the way you the way you make decisions.
Now, let me ask you this, another random. Because there's so much buzz out there on the internet about the moon and this and that. And I've really been getting a little bit more aware of the moon phases. And especially because I go for a walk at 5 a.m., the moon's still out. Would you say that there's any correlation between someone being more drawn towards the sun versus the moon based on their authority? And let me also add in that I've always been drawn to the sun. I've never been drawn to the moon. I'm just trying to learn more about the moon. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So given their closeness to Earth, the sun and the moon are the two most powerful probably planets in terms of us as human beings. That's why they have such a big kind of importance in our life. I mean, they're the way we live our lives. We get up, we go to bed according to them, and we live our lives around that. So yes, as more, we're you and me, and let's see, Sydney, your niece, we're kind of all more about the sun, whereas some people, generally reflectors and that people with no authority, they will be more guided by their moon energy. So like the thing, I suppose, where there's a slight difference between human design and astrology is kind of really only based on, one planet at a time. Human design is what was the location of all of the planets at the time of your birth, and what energy were they giving into the atmosphere at the time of your birth. So that's how we're all different, and that's why I suppose it's a little bit deeper, the information that we have from human design on this, but primarily we are solar and lunar beings, because those two being closest to the earth give the most amount of energy to us.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then in regards to, again, to the authorities. So when I look at these charts, I see sacral, no authority, and emotional authority. Are there other authorities as well that various types could have?
Yeah, there are. So I suppose the kind of order in the chart as such is you're going to have the emotional one, okay, which is Ryan and me. We're going to have the sacral, which is you and Sienna. Okay. And then the next one then after the sacral will be the splenic authority, so the spleen. So that's your like intuition area. For those looking at their chart, this is the triangle on the furthest left-hand side. That's your splenic authority. And then it'll move on to the ego authority. Okay. And then it'll move on to the G center. And then you go into kind of mental authority, which is all in the head, and no inner authority. And they're the main ones that are there. So I know there's a podcast, we're not really showing a chart, but you could kind of see the way it flows into the emotional across to the tummy, then across to what would be your appendix area, your spleen, and then you kind of go into the heart center, then into your chest, then up to your throat. That it kind of takes that journey, the different types of authorities.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then to circle back with the same type of question for strategy. So we have the ones we've talked about are to respond and waiting for the invitation. Are there other strategy types as well? Yeah.
So a generator is to respond. A manifesting generator is also to respond. Projector is to wait for the invitation and recognition. Manifestors is to inform. And reflectors are to wait for a lunar cycle. Okay. I suppose the strategy is another way to how you share your gift, how you share yourself with the world.
Right. Okay.
So
I was trying to ask with that other question, but I didn't come off that great. So, okay, perfect.
Look, another thing to really, not really, but a great thing to take notice of is you'll also see on the charts, I think it's on most charts, like it's certainly on the system that you used, but as far as I'm aware, any system that you use for looking this up online will give you what's called a signature self and the not seen theme self. And the signature self is kind of how you know you're being your most true self, your most magnetic self, your most authentic self, like where you're really, really shining your aura big and bright out into the world. And the not self theme is kind of where you're really not living in your design at all. You're being probably very ego driven. And those two things are a great sign from your body. Like the body is so clever. It's telling you whether you are in a state of allowing or whether you are completely resistant and, you know, not allowing the things that you are calling in to come to you. So for myself and for you, the self theme is satisfaction. Okay. It's the same for generators and manifesting generators. It's satisfaction. So a really nice practice is to kind of bookend your day with the feeling of satisfaction, because what you start to do is you start to train your body. This is what I feel like when I am in my most magnetic state. And you can do that with anything. For me, it's my morning coffee. Like I just really luxuriate in it and kind of really have a sense of satisfaction in it. Or yesterday, I walked out into our living room and just something made me feel like I am so satisfied with this home. And like that's just this, when you can say that and really feel it in your body, you are in your most magnetic, your most authentic self at that point. So really nice to start to train your body how that feels. But if you're feeling, you and I both have the same one, and sorry, so does Ryan, where not self, it's frustration. That's like, oh, how often would you say like, oh, I'm so frustrated? That is more than likely you're being reactive. You're not responding. You're not making decisions according to your authority, and you're feeling like the world is against you. That sense of frustration is a sign to you that you need to kind of bring it back to basics. How did I make the decision? Can I make the decision in a better way using my authority? And how can I communicate and respond to the universe better through my strategy?
Wow. This is gold, people. This is gold. And it goes into, I would say the whole satisfaction thing goes into like gratitude and celebration, like really like an appreciation, like all of that kind of bucketing together.
Like these words, all these words are subjective. So like that word is satisfaction. What does it mean for you? You know, and exactly if it's gratitude, if it's gratefulness, if it's everything like that, and like just really, really kind of bedding in that. But and this is, you know, obviously we should all be grateful for everything. But if you look at someone like your sister who is a projector, her signature self is success. That's what it is for projectors. And so what does success feel like to her? That's for her, it's very different. What does success feel like? What success feels like, I suppose if it was me, success feels like I can achieve anything that I want. I can, you know, I'm very accomplished in the things that I do. And you see how that links into the recognition strategy for a projector, because feeling successful means that I start to recognize myself as an authority, and then I become super magnetic if I'm a projector.
Yep. Okay. So all of this goes like perfectly into understanding manifestation just on a deeper level.
Completely. Yeah.
Really
completely.
That nugget.
Yeah. Like, I don't know about your clients, but, you know, you'll get clients that come to you and they'll say, but I really just, you know, I hate where I am. I want to change my job. And it's just a classic sign that they are not living in their design. They are not responding to the situations that are there. They're sitting in a state of fear probably, and saying, all they're saying, communicating with the universe is, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. And the universe is like, here's more to hate, here's more to hate, here's more to hate. Right. So how can I step away from that feeling of frustration? I have to kind of train my body to have that sense of satisfaction or gratitude, as it would feel for you. I have to train my body and kind of live there just 51% of the time, as opposed to being in that state of frustration.
Right. And then the projector has like a bitterness to them versus a frustration. Like that's their little feeling, right? Versus a frustrated feeling.
Totally. So the bitterness is really like, it's almost like a pent up energy, because projectors can see, projectors are like the bird in the sky watching all of us just run around like lunatics trying to figure everything out and like driving ourselves crazy. And they can see, well, she does realize if she just went from there to there, she'd get much quicker. And if we don't invite them in, we don't recognize them as an authority to help us make things more efficient, they get bitter. They can get that pent up frustration and they can say about other people, oh, they're so stupid. Why are they doing it that way? They get very, very angry that people aren't asking them for their advice on how to make things better.
Gotcha. How amazing. I love when just little nuggets all like click, 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 click.
Yeah.
So,
and
yeah,
I suppose for anybody else that's listening, that's a manifester, their signature self would be peace. So imagine waking up in the morning and saying, I'm going to embody the sense of peace in my life now, and maybe that's sitting, in contemplation, listening to the birds outside, listening to the wind in the trees, and kind of really acknowledging, like, I feel a sense of peace in my body, and doing that before you go to bed as well. So you kind of rise and you kind of wake up in this most authentic self, and you go to bed in the most authentic self. And that's how you really start to retrain the neuropaths in your brain, that this is what it's supposed to feel like. And then you take the clue when you start to feel, for you and I, frustration, for projector bitterness, or for a manifestor anger. When they start to feel that anger in their body, that is their sign that I am moving further away from what I truly want. I'm not allowing. I'm not in a sense of peace. I'm not in ease. I'm not in flow. This anger is telling me that I'm energetically about to go in the direction of fear.
Wow. And then what about a reflector?
Yes. And so their signature self is surprise. So like surprise and delight. And then because
I don't like to be surprised, so they can have it.
It's because, you see, it goes back to what I spoke about earlier, where you can put them in one group where just the energy is just wrong and it's a bad group of people and things like that. There they feel disappointment, but they personalize that disappointment. They're not able to separate the energy of the group from themselves, and they're disappointed, like, oh, I feel so bad, this is all me. It's very kind of personal to them. And then when they're put into a group where the energy is amazing and everybody's being, co-creative and all of that, it's like there's this surprise and delight to them. So that sense of surprise and delight shows them that they're in the right environment, that they're around the right people, that they are really safe where they are. But that feeling of disappointment is telling them, I need to remove myself from this situation. Because reflectors don't always know when to remove themselves from situations, because they think there's something wrong with them, and they might hold themselves in a situation.
Wow.
Because they're just a mirror. Like it's almost like devoid of kind of the awareness that we would all have, because they are completely undefined in all of the centers.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Wow.
So that's why they think what they're reflecting is their own. But it's never their own.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Good. Well, no, but those two things will really, like, if you start to, I'd love to hear if you do this like for the next 2 weeks, and just start and end your day with embedding that feeling of satisfaction into your body, how you would find it, what differences you make. I don't know, maybe you manifest something amazing over the time.
Yeah,
as well.
my house down the street on the ocean side, which you're coming to.
Yeah.
Fly over from Spain.
No problem.
Everyone, Anne lives in Spain, which I've never said before, but it's so freaking cool. So
yeah, look, it's that satisfaction. Like you and me and Ryan, we just have to kind of really bed in that satisfaction, and just really like, ooh, this is just so satisfying. And you have to also be very, I think, when people come with that sense of frustration or even bitterness of like, oh, nothing's working out for me, I'm not able to manifest this life that I want is so far away. Being in that state of kind of, how do I get to satisfaction? How will I know I'm getting there? When you know that you're aiming for satisfaction, you can slowly start to take steps towards it and kind of move away from frustration. But for the moment, I just feel content with where I am. Mm-hmm. And then once I feel content, then I can move to hopeful for where I'm going. And then if I knowing eventually I'm getting closer and closer to it, and that gets me closer to satisfaction.
Right. Gosh, and it makes so much sense to me because like I thrive on purpose. I'm obviously, I'm a generator. So satisfaction's like that outcome, right? So mm-hmm. if I truly bathe in that and revel in that and switch my mindset back to that, if I get off my railroad tracks, there you go. I'm going to shorten the timeline. So yeah, just having that little nugget of those keywords and that little bit extra clarity is the gold. Is the gold. That's amazing.
Absolutely, because you're only ever, the manifestation of something that you want, whether it's a car, a person, they're actually the sign that the manifestation has happened within inside of you, i.e. that the energetic change has happened inside of you, and you now are seeing yourself as energetically aligned with that thing, like I hear things like signs and stuff like that, but actually the manifestation is the sign that you have energetically changed inside to be aligned with the thing that you want. Mm-hmm. Because when you get the manifestation, actually you realize I don't need this thing anymore because I'm feeling so good in myself. So I'm feeling that satisfaction. It kind of doesn't matter whether I have the manifestation or not, which is why it's only a sign. And I think that's kind of Neville Goddard's teaching on it as well, is that the manifestation is just a sign, and that it really is about managing my own inner feelings and inner workings on this.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Great nugget. Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Girl, I know you need to get to sleep.
I don't think we talked about what we said we would. Look, I hope it's helpful. I know we're kind of jumping around on different things, and it is difficult when there isn't a chart in front of someone to see. But like I said, take what kind of resonates with you and leave the rest. If you can just, strategy, the authority, and then use your signature self and your not self theme as your goalposts for how close you actually are to the person that you want to be, the thing that you're calling in, you will become so magnetic by just operating kind of on those four things. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And don't get caught up in the other detail just yet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. And again, like highly recommend pulling the chart, highly recommend listening to the other ones. You're probably going to have to listen to this one a couple of times, like, listen as you're, on the treadmill or running, and then sit again with your chart and go, okay. And if you have to fast forward through some sections to get to where we're talking about for you. And then also schedule a call with Anne. So
thank you very much.
Yes, do the deep dive. She's amazing. And obviously I just really, really appreciate her. So schedule a call with Anne and get your chart read and learn this so you can maximize this and gosh, and it's so cliche. Live your best life, but it's just true. So I'm going to say it. Standing in my power, I'm going to say it. Live your best life, people. So,
yeah. Well, look, Melinda, thank you very, very much for that. That's really kind of you to say. Like, I really enjoy our conversations, because what I suppose we haven't shared with everybody is that very unique in your design as well, is that your skill on top of like a generator is just skimming the surface for you, and all of these parts is you are the type of person that is here to pull all the information together for people and kind of, create your own version of it and divulge it in such a way that people need to hear it, and kind of take all the pieces together, and really create your own magic with it. And that is, it's such a joy, I suppose, to work with you on these things, because you are someone very much living in your design, and living it very authentically, just by virtue of being who you are, and kind of following that joy, following that sense of satisfaction and gratitude on a daily basis.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I feel that. I love that. I thrive on that and all those things. And I guess that's why I do this podcast, right? So
Exactly.
I hope that everyone out there, that's my intention, like learns from this, enjoys it, maybe laughs a little bit if I'm goofy. So, and and I will put Anne's information and the chart information again in the show notes. And feel free to reach out with us, connect with us. Anne's gig is on her, what was the word I was going to look for? Your what you like. You're on Instagram. That's your vibe, is the Instagram vibe. So follow Anne on Instagram, and you can find me on all the other socials. Because, I guess, again, I like to be everywhere. So there you go.
Yeah, you're the melting pot.
You're the melting pot. I know. That's so funny. And that really fits into both of our designs as well. So that's really funny. So, so thank you. It's always a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Melinda.